All right, let's go and get started. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're viewing this or listening to some rebroadcast. I'm your host, Coach Holman, joined by the beloved Coach Hughes. I want to welcome you guys to the Recruiting Academy podcast. We got a special night. We're actually going to do a recruiting workshop. So we have a few people joining us live this evening. But before we get to that, we always got to ask Coach Hughes. Coach Hughes, what nugget do you have for us before we get started here?
I'm always asked, give stories or some sort of nugget. The one thing we talked about is, hey, make sure whatever you do, if you have Twitter, get your mailbox open so people can get a hold of you. I've been trying to get a hold of a couple of you guys and I can't do anything because you don't have a mailbox. The other thing is today, I realized even parents don't understand the importance of the freshman year. The freshman year is going to be your most important academic year. I know a lot of you want to play ball. I know, like I've been with football programs at high school, the freshmen, they're carrying on and crying how they want to play. And I understand that. The most important thing you can do is show up to practice, be a good squad team member to help upperclassmen, and use all your other time to do your academics. If you have that 3.8 or 4.0, you will not have to play catch up. What happens is that you get families that will call Coach Holman and I telling us they're good when they're 8th grade and freshmen. After their sophomore year, they're wanting to go play college football, but they didn't listen and they're carrying a 2.8 GPA. So make sure whatever you do, your most important year for academics is your freshman year. So what do you think, Coach?
No, that you hit on a good point there, and as from many of whom that probably haven't been joining us a lot, I see a lot of new faces tonight that haven't joined. Power Five player, and let me say Group of Five as well. You're gonna you'll be able to still get a athletic scholarship. Before a guy or girl that may be on the fence, want to go into like a Columbia or Yale or Harvard or Holy Cross and schools of that such on technically D1 Division I programs. They're just on the FCS level. You're gonna have to. Let me say this: baseball, tennis, lacrosse, softball, soccer. Those sports you're gonna have to have the academic piece because they're very, very limited on scholarships they have. So typically they'll have one scholarship and they have to split it between like 5 or 6 people. So it's gonna be very, very, very important that piece in regards to and the test scores to be able to be not only just a qualifier but also get money from the school, right? And that's another conversation when we have in regards to the guaranteed scholarships. But if you have further questions about that stuff, just feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to drop my number in the chat, and that way you guys can feel free to reach out to us with any questions or concerns, except any private consultation. So let's to the topic of discussion tonight. I know a lot of athletes and more so a lot of football athletes or basketball athletes or just all athletes in general are hitting the camps this as we speak right now, and the camp circuit is officially started. So I wanted to go in tonight and talk about unofficial visits, just because I'm seeing a upward trend with the couple schools I've been at the last week or so in regards to what they're doing with camps and things. Be mindful that as you are preparing for camps and things such like that, you are essentially taking an unofficial visit right at this moment, right? So you're taking an unofficial visit at this moment, unless you have an official visit set up. So while I'm talking, if you could please drop your classification year 22, 2023, 2024 drop that in the chat, so that way, you be different. Now, if you are a senior to be, you officially can now start taking official visits, unless you have not filled out the NCAA eligibility center information. Then you cannot take any OVs. Okay. So with that being said, um, if you are a underclassman, someone that is a 2023, 2024 and beyond, right now you're going to be taking, these camps are technically considered unofficial visits for you. And what an unofficial visit really means, we'll get the official visits next week. But what an unofficial visit is in terms of where, just to simplify, is where you pay, right? Official visit is where they pay, but unofficial is where you pay. And you can take as many of those as you want to. There's an unlimited amount, right? You can take a camp visit is an unofficial visit. A visit, a practice, attending a practice is an unofficial visit. A game day visit is an unofficial visit. Junior day is an unofficial visit. Watching spring practice is an unofficial. So those all are considered unofficial visits. Or even if you just go up to the school to check things out, or the coach invites you up, just say, come check out the school. We want to show you around and stuff like that. That's considered, an unofficial visit. Now, with that being said, we now got one person in the chat that said they're 2024. My other guys on here, what classification are you guys? So appreciate you. Let me see what that was. Dylan being a 2024, you're going to be able to soak up all this information and be able to be ahead of the game as you get ready to take visits, unofficial visits this summer. Carson, 2022, I got you, boss. So Carson, this information for you is going to be like hot fire. Where you got to get on a quick on it quick because you don't have much time if you plan on playing. So if you plan on playing sports beyond high school, just put a 1 in the chat. If you want to play sports beyond high school, just put a 1 in the chat. So it's important for you all to, my 2022 class, to really get on the ball and make sure you're doing everything that you need to do in regards to set yourself up, right? So back to unofficial visits. And as I said, you can take as many as you want, camps, football games, attending football games, attending a practice, all that stuff, game day visits, as they say, because I know we have people that play multiple sports, both male and female. A game day visit is unofficial visit. Junior day, prospect day, as they say, as well, is also considered unofficial visit. And you can take as many of those as you want, right? So let's talk about what you should be doing on these unofficial visits, right? So on the unofficial visit, you all should just be making sure that, one, you're building a connection and rapport with the coach or coaches that are recruiting you, right? And then the biggest thing that you should do when you go on these visits, on these unofficial visits, is get familiar and ask questions, right? Just don't go on a visit because they invite you up to take a picture in the jersey and stuff like that. Because I know I know everybody on here wants to play their sport, right? But it's also, you're not just going to school, you're not just going to that university for the sport, right? There's also the academic piece that you must do, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? If you're on a scholarship, you going to school and being enrolled in 12 or more at least 12 classes, is how you're going to be able to get aid for, even athletic piece and also academic as well. So please make sure you take the time to go and visit, the academic college. And I would say, before you even go to the university, check and see what major programs they have, academic study programs that they have. So if you're an athlete that wants to go into business, research a business school that they have. Usually every college has a business school, just depending on the university. That's case by case. But go and see, hey, what qualifications you need. Go meet with an academic advisor, and just make sure you're on track and you're taking the proper classes. So that way, when you come into the university, a lot of times you can not have to take the prerequisites in college if you already taken them in high school. So for my smart boys and girls out there that are able to take advantage of the opportunity, especially my guy that's 2024 here, I think that's Dylan. Like, Dylan, start early, man. And if this is your parent that's on here, whatever it may be, start early so that way you can be ahead of the game. Because as I stated last week, It's so competitive out here. So if you're not taking the necessary steps to put yourself in position to earn a scholarship, that's what everybody's trying to do. They're trying to put themselves in position. And how do you do that? By making sure you're taking care of the business in the classroom, but also researching and finding out what information, what classes do I need to be taking right now to help me, one, stand out and be able to get myself a boost in regards to what I'm doing, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can in our control, right? Everybody wants control of their life. Everybody wants control of opportunities, but for athletes, it all starts in the classroom and understanding, hey, it starts here, and then doing further research at these universities that you plan on attending or want to attend. So that way you have an idea. And as I tell clients that are with us in general, attack the academic piece first, right? So if you want to study business, boom, let business be the focus. If you want to study photography or music, let that be the focus point, because we know you all are all good at your sport, right? You can do it in your sleep, right? It's easy. It comes easy to you all. So just make sure that at the end of the day, you make the academic piece the driving force. So, like I said, if you want to be a photographer, you want to find a school or schools that have that major. And I guarantee you, they probably have your athletic sport as well. Now, that's going to be case by case, but usually I'm going to say 7 out of 10 times they'll have the academic sport that you're playing. I mean, excuse me, the athletic sport that you're playing at that school as well. So please make sure that you're attacking the academic piece, and that way you're setting yourself up. So before I open it up for questions, once again, if you have a question or you have something that you always want to, you don't know, you just have some questions, or you're just kind of trying to figure the whole thing out, please feel free to just unmute yourself when I allow you guys to do that. Ask any question you want. You can talk about the topic we just talked about in regards to unofficial visits. There's a lot more stuff that goes into unofficial visits, and I'll touch more on that at the end. I won't get it to hit every single thing just because of the allotted time, but I will open it up right now for questions. So if you're a person in here that has a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and feel free to ask whatever question in regards to unofficial visits or anything in general that you may just have questions about when it coming to these camps, going to these camps this summer. So the floor is open. So if any athlete wants to ask a question, please go ahead.
I got a question about the unofficial visits.
Absolutely.
Like, do we take those by just going on camps?
So yeah. So usually the unofficial visits are typically invite. Now, obviously with camps, you can basically take as many as you want, and that's basically you're just inviting yourself to go, right? So to answer your question, yeah, when you go to these camps, they're technically considered unofficial visits, and the idea is to, okay, the idea is to make sure that it's I don't know if is this Dylan or is this Dylan's dad?
Dylan.
Okay, Dylan. Okay, Dylan. Yeah, you got a deep voice there, boss. I wasn't sure who it was, but it's all good, boss. It's all good. No, so the idea is to make sure that it's almost like a date, and I'm not for sure if we have any young ladies on here or not, but I'll just put it in this term. It's almost like it's a date. So you go out on your first date. Is basically going on your first official visit, and the idea is to get another date with the school, right? And the more dates you get, at some point in time, you'll get that an official visit where they'll basically pay for everything. But right now, for everybody that's an underclassman and some seniors, you'll end up getting, you'll have to take unofficial visits until, you catch their eye, right? And I paint it like that to help everybody understand, like it's just like going on the first date or trying to get a girl or a boy to get their attention. So you have to just be around and be present as much as possible. So camps allow you to do that without having to contact the coach and say, "Hey, coach, what's going on," or he or she have to invite you up. Because typically for the game day visits, they have to invite you up. For the junior prospect days, they have to invite you up. And then spring practice, they have to invite you up. The only way getting around them inviting you up is if you go with somebody else, right? And I had a story of a kid that's actually he's going to Kentucky. Literally, he just left. He signed with the 2021 class. So he wasn't invited to Akron, but I brought him along because there was another kid they were looking at, and the kid ended up going. I ended up offering him, but he didn't go to Akron. He went to Kentucky. But that kind of started his journey with getting offers from school. So if you're an athlete that's a young kid, such as yourself, Dylan, that's a 2024, if you have somebody that is a senior to be, and they're getting ready to go to these game day visits during the season, or junior to be that's going to be able to go to prospect days and stuff like that. I would just ask them, can they tag along? Can you tag along with them so that way you can continue to gain more exposure? So that goes across the board for anybody. If you have a buddy that's getting recruited by the school, or they just invite him to a game and he's not really interested in the school, but he's going to go anyway just to check out a game, you should tag along with them, just because you never know whatever coach that's there may end up going to a different school and may have some interest in you. So you just want to be present as much as possible in regards to taking these unofficial visits.
What are some good camps for offensive linemen and defensive linemen to go to get the best exposure and stuff that?
That's a great question, Carson. You mind telling me exactly where you're located at, Carson? Because I can give you some, but it may not be relevant to where you are. What city are you, or what state are you from?
I'm in Peachtree City,
Georgia. Okay, no,
yeah.
Perfect. So ideally, you will want to go on to university. So I'm gonna say this. So let me break this down a little bit more. So there's third party camps and then there's college camps. So a lot of the third party camps are overweight, and those are like the Under Armours, the Nikes, the Adidas, the Rivals, my camps and things and such like that. So now we're in the college camp circuit, right? So Carson, for you, what I would do is I would in Georgia they have like Georgia State, Georgia Tech, they have a UGA, they have Kennesaw State, they have Georgia Southern, they have all these universities, right? So what I would do is I would go on their website and specifically look for something that says a big man camp, right? Or a lineman camp. So what I would do is do that first and go in there and look and see what you can exactly find in regards to a specific lineman camp. Because typically, like I was at Ohio State last week, they had a big man camp, which is basically just linemen. And it was just linemen there. There was no skill guys, right? So if you can find a position-specific camp to go to, a college camp to go to, where it's just linemen there, it's going to give you the ability, the opportunity to stand out. I know like today, Kennesaw State had a huge camp where they had I think about 60 plus schools there. But it was open to all positions. So it's going to be tough for a kid to stand out unless he has gone about doing the due diligence of taking some of the steps that we tell athletes to do in regards to getting in contact with coaches before, during, and after that camp. So Carson, does that help you with your question?
Yeah, because I just got back from the Alabama camp today, actually. So,
how was that?
It was pretty good, actually. It was really fun. And there was a couple other college coaches there from Georgia State, a couple other ones there. But yeah, it was a fun camp. So I didn't know if there's any specific camps I had to go to.
Sorry. Carson, sorry, you got muted there. Go ahead, Carson. Sorry, you said.
Sorry. No,
go ahead.
Yeah, so I just got back from the Alabama camp today, actually, and it was a fun camp. I had a really fun time and everything. It was good, competition wise and everything like that. And so there's a couple other coaches there, offensive line coaches from different other smaller colleges. But yeah, I just didn't know if there's any specific ones that I had to legit go to get the best exposure, or if I go with everyone else or stuff like that.
Yeah, no. So I mean, you're taking the necessary steps. Are you 2022, 2023, Carson?
I'm 2022.
Okay,
I know I
so
don't have much time left, but
yeah. So the thing is when you do go to these bigger universities, a lot of times, as bad as it seems, a lot of times they have moved on from the class of 2022, and they have specific guys there that they're looking for. So you brought up a key point that I was gonna bring up towards the end here. You'll have coaches from other schools come there looking because they know everybody's gonna go to a big time university camp. At at least one of those camps that they decide to go to. There's going to be one of those big time camps. So if I was you, I would be there when you go to these camps and you see schools there from other schools that are at the university, such as you mentioned Georgia State, right? I would be talking to the Georgia State coach and say, hey, coach, you want to ask these probing questions. You're a senior, so you don't really have much time to waste. So you want to ask these probing questions and find out, hey, coach, what are you guys looking for? Well, hey, Carson, we're looking for, some offensive linemen, defensive linemen, guys that are, 6 whatever, 2 whatever, whatever it may be, right? So you want to ask those probing questions, kind of find out what they want, and then start building that rapport. And then that way, you have an idea. So instead of going to like a bunch of different camps, you go to some position-specific ones, and also some ones that really ideally want to see you compete and then want to potentially offer you a scholarship opportunity, Carson. So, Carson, if you want to, man, I can send you my information because it seems like you may need some guidance in regards to that. So that way you're not kind of you're spinning the wheels because you don't have much time to kind of mess around. But at least getting to some pinpoint camps that can help you out, and that way we can find out your GPA, and then watch your film and then say, okay, hey, you should be targeting these camps. But for me, just kind of not seeing anything, I would say more so target position-specific camps that have linemen only. So that way, the focus point is only linemen, not linemen, skill guys, quarterbacks, wide receivers. Because typically, when like Alabama has a camp, Georgia State might only send 3 coaches out there, or even 2, sometimes only 1 coach, right? And that 1 coach has to go and find a quarterback, has to find a wide receiver, has to find an O-line, D-line, has to find, he may have to find a couple different guys at that camp. So with that being said, he or she's not going to be able to like go to every position group. They're going to kind of just be like, okay, relying off, maybe a coach say, oh, this kid look nice, right? Or this kid look nice. So you want to be able to go somewhere where they want you to come and they want to see you perform and do what you need to do versus just being in a large crowd.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Carson. Who else has a question or any other questions here? Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask any question you would like. Greg, I saw your message as well. I will follow with you here in a second, Greg.
Thank you.
If you want to send me I don't think we have your number. So if you're able to send me a private message here, let me see if I can do this. Boom, 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 boom. Let me see here. Hey, Coach Hughes, Coach Hughes probably can't do it. I will send you a private message here in a second. Great. So while we have a couple minutes, if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to ask those questions. And let's see here. Yeah. Any questions? Anybody have any questions before I continue? No questions about camps. Has anybody been? I know, Carson, you mentioned you've been to a camp. Has anybody else been to any camps so far this within the last? I know camps just started on June 1st. Has anybody been in any camps outside of Carson within the last week or so?
Yeah, Roman. Hi, Coach. Roman went to Sanford.
Okay, down in Alabama.
Yeah.
How was that, if you don't mind sharing?
That was very good. It was we went to the second session in the afternoon, so
Okay.
it was a smaller session. Wasn't as many people there, and I think we got lucky because they said the first session he's Roman's a lineman. I think it was good 15 defensive, good 15 offense. When we went there, it was more like 7 and 7, so it was more one-on-one. Yeah, more time to shine. Yeah.
No, great. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah. So trying to target, schools or sessions that have a limited amount of kids will obviously help you gain exposure and be able to get a lot more reps. I paint this analogy that sometimes it takes guys and girls some time to warm up. So you may need, 10 reps before you actually, get in the groove and start being able to win the majority of your reps, right? So ideally, the more reps you can get, the better off you'll be. Somebody actually dropped a post on Twitter. A coach said, "Hey, don't fight or don't be disrespectful at camp." But also, he didn't also follow and say, "Hey, we're not gonna basically give you a pacifier and say, hey, come get your rep." So I just take it as this, anytime you go to a camp and there's a large number of kids, you better be fighting for reps, because if you don't, you won't be able to stand out, right? And what makes this thing so difficult about recruiting is just the fact that people say, well, it's this, one person, I mean, not one person, but some people um, out in out in out on Twitter and just in general think that, hey, I'm the person that can get everybody offers. But at the end of the day, it comes down really to like timing of this thing, right? So not just one person can get somebody offer. It's a lot more that goes into it. But at the end of the day, just make sure you as an athlete are doing your due diligence of getting reps, so that way you can, coaches can see you, right? And the supply and demand just makes this thing even more difficult, right? That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, right? It comes down to supply and demand and timing. So if you're an athlete, you have to have everything checked off, grades checked off, test scores checked off, NCAA eligibility center checked off. You have to have everything checked off, um, to be able to make sure that you're putting yourself in the correct position. Because as I said this before, and I'll say it again, a lot of times there's so many athletes that, sign, commit, and then get to the summer, and then the NCAA says, hey, you didn't take this class, or you got this letter grade, and you needed this letter grade to be a qualifier. And then now they're just sitting and waiting on the NCAA. And now the school sometimes is not even able to accept them in because they don't have what they need, in regards to the NCAA. So just make sure, you athletes and parents that are on here, or make sure these athletes are doing their due diligence in regards to taking care of academics, focusing on the test scores, getting the proper development they need as far as training, and then taking the necessary visits and things like that. If you don't know what to do, I'm available. Coach Hughes is available. I'll drop my number here in the chat here in a second. But was there any other questions before I finish up on the unofficial visits, and that way we can wrap this thing up? Any other questions? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and segue and finish off this podcast in regards to some things that you need to take note. We already talked about going and checking on the academic piece and making sure that you are doing the due diligence of finding out what classes you may need if you're going to focus on a major. So the next thing, especially for I know Carson had to take off, but for my upperclassmen as well as my underclassmen, is making sure that they are asking probing questions. So that way they're not spending a lot of time looking, or not looking, but more so spinning their wheels in regards to trying to find opportunities and gain exposure. So if you're a kid and you're going to these camps, as I told Carson, one of the first things you need to ask for is, hey, coach, what are you guys looking for, right? What are you guys in need of, right? So they may say, hey, yeah, let's say for instance, you're a basketball player, or let's say you're a women's basketball player, and you play point guard, right? We know basketball, they have small numbers anyway, so they're not looking for a whole bunch of people. But let's say, for instance, in basketball, you play point, or you're number one, and they say, okay, hey, we are looking, we're looking for, a center, right? You might say, well, I'm a point guard. So are you guys not looking for point guards? No, we're not looking for point guards. So that lets you know, okay, boom, you need to move away from that school and find another school, or continue to talk to other schools, right? So the biggest thing, the number one thing a lot of athletes and people need to do, and parents as well, is ask those sort questions. One, hey, what are you guys looking for, right? What needs do you guys have? Oh, well, we're looking for 3 offensive linemen. Okay, so let's say you play offensive line, right? They're looking for 3 offensive linemen. So your next question need to be, how many people have you offered already at that position, right? And this is something that, is more so probably tailored towards a senior. But you also can ask if you're a freshman, like you, Dylan, you can ask, hey, even though it's 2024 is a couple years away, they might be saying, hey, we have a specific need. We're going to be looking for alignment, because sometimes each school varies. One year they may be looking for, wide receivers. The next year they may be looking for offensive line, and they usually have a depth chart of what they're doing in regards to what they're looking for. So just make sure you ask that question. Hey, what are you guys looking? What are your needs? And then once you find out, hey, if they have your position need available, ask them how many people have they offered, or are they planning on offering at that position, right? So for instance, if you're an offensive lineman and they say they need 3 offensive linemen, but they already offered like 5 offensive linemen, like the likelihood is that you're going to be like the third tier, and that's basically the last person that they decide to offer, if they're even willing to offer you, right? So you have to wait. You have to wait on those other 5 guys to make a decision, right? Because they only have 3 spots left. So let's say, you know, 4 of the 3 decide to commit, right? So you're definitely not going to be able to get an offer from that school. So just make sure you're asking those probing questions in regards to, what is the need, and then, how many people have they offered at that position, right? The next thing you need to figure out is in regards to the scholarship piece, right? So, if they are a school, let's say like an FCS program or a D2 program, and they have, let's say they might say, hey, we only have, we do have room available, but we only have, we're only able to give out maybe, $10,000 in aid, over the next couple of years. So you need to ask those questions to find out, because that lets you know that, okay, hey, they're going to give me $10,000 in football aid, football athletic money, but then the school is $20,000 in total. So that means you have to find some way somehow to come up with the other 10 grand per year for that school, right? So that's just some simple numbers to give you guys to be able to think about. But you want to ask those questions and find out, what's the scholarship amount that they also are giving out based off, that year in particular, right? And one of the last things that I say that every athlete needs to, and parent needs to do, is to, one, just make sure that um, the school is, one, not going to close down, right? I know we had a couple different situations where a couple universities have closed down, and just kind of figuring out, hey, what is the severity of the school? Are they, is everything in place? Are they investing in the school? Is the board of directors, voting to improve, the facilities and things and such like that? Because if you're in a situation where, there is not funds being put into the athletic department, more than likely they may end up canceling the sport, and then you're gonna have to find another place to go in regards to that. So just ask those questions. And a lot of times, like some of the coaches don't know a lot of times, so they may just say, hey, like, hey, we just, yeah, everything's good, but in reality, it may not be, right? So, but at least you ask those questions, then at least that way you'll know versus the unknown, right? I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people struggle with is the unknown. So make sure you ask those questions. If you would like further information on regards to some of the other things that you can ask in regards to scholarships, the academic part, please feel free to reach out to me and or Coach Hughes. The number is 844-342-5228. Number again is 844-342-5228. I'll drop it in the chat. Coach Hughes, you got a closing nugget before I wrap this show up?
I just hope everyone took notes. I mean, you gave a lot of good stuff, and when you do go to camps, let's be professional, and yes sir, no sir, and make sure that they remember you for good things, not for things that behavior issues and disrespect and things like that, because coaches talk to each other, and a lot of times what happens is that you might be on the O line and you might be a guard and they're looking at the tackle. Well, sometimes I found kids that I already know the tackle's going somewhere, but what about the guard? The guard may be just as good. So it's important that you guys remember that. So that way, when you have film, you know, if they're looking at someone, you know, hey, I know you're looking at this tackle, but I was the guard. And so, yeah, but make sure that they remember you for the good things. Other than that, Coach, nice class this evening.
No, it sounds good, man. It sounds good. But listen, we appreciate you guys taking the time. I want to shout out some of our sponsors, Home Athletic Performance Foundation, for powering this podcast. Feel free to check us out at www.holmanapfoundation.com for camps that are coming up in your area. Also, I'd like to shout out another sponsor, holmanathleticperformance.com. That's basically my site where I do all the marketing and things and such in regards to helping athletes and things like that understand. So please feel free to reach out or check out those websites. Once again, holmanapfoundation.com for camps and www.holmanathleticperformance.com for recruiting information and marketing and things and such like that. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys. We love you, man. We'll see you guys next week. God bless.
Hey, Coach, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, boss.
I was asking, like, I could get your number. I got a question.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. Sorry. I'm glad you reminded me. I'm gonna drop it in the chat here. Okay. Did you see that there, Dylan? All right. I'll see you guys next week. God bless.